All right, I think we're leveling off. Welcome to Leveraging Technology to Enhance Students' Executive Functioning Skills, hosted by the Windward Institute, a division of the Windward School. I'm Alexis Pokna, Director of the Windward Institute, and it is my pleasure to introduce today's presenter. Dr. Joan McGettigan is the Director of Educational Technology at the Windward School. She is also recognized as an ISTE certified educator, an Apple Distinguished Educator, Google Certified Educator, and an Apple Learning Coach. Prior to joining the Windward School, Dr. McGettigan served as the Director of Instructional Technology for the Darien School District in Connecticut and the Director of Education and Information Technology at North Broward Preparatory School in Florida. She is the parent of twin girls and a former middle school teacher. She holds a master's degree in educational technology from Columbia University, a master's degree in elementary education from Tulane University, and a doctorate in instructional leadership from Western Connecticut University. We are thrilled to have Dr. McGettigan here with us today to share her expertise on leveraging technology to enhance students' executive functioning skills.
Alexis, thank you for the lovely introduction and welcome, and thank you for joining today's Windward Institute webinar focusing on leveraging tech to enhance students' executive functioning skills. As a former middle school classroom teacher, an administrator, and most importantly, as a parent, I hope to bring my expertise into this presentation and help you see the possibilities for using tech to help support and enhance your child's executive functioning skills. First, please know that I will model strategies to help support executive functioning, or EF, as I will refer to it for the rest of the webinar, which means you will not need to take copious notes, as we will provide you with a comprehensive list of linked resources. However, I will take pauses now and then for you to take a brain dump. Literally, that is to empty your working memory out on a piece of paper so that it is easier for you to take in the next chunk of information. Today's agenda will begin with defining EF, why it matters, looking at a way of thinking about the different category of skills, and then we will examine helpful tools in each of those categories. Finally, I will close with a discussion of artificial intelligence and how it may provide some additional support. Let's get started. So let's talk about what EF skills are. I love this quote from Russell Barkley. It's important to remember that EF skills are just that, skills. It is not a matter of intelligence, but knowing how to function in a way that you can plan, organize, manage time and task, use metacognitive thinking skills, show self-control, and efficiently use your working memory. So what are these skills? Executive functioning skills encompass cognitive processes like planning, organization, time management, and goal setting. They're essential for academic success and daily life. Technology plays an increasingly pivotal role in supporting students in developing and honing these critical skills. This presentation explores the multifaceted technology that can aid students in enhancing their EF skills. One significant area where tech can assist students is task management. Numerous task management applications and digital calendars allow students to create to-do lists, set deadlines, and receive reminders, that's key, for assignments and responsibilities. This is in line with research that highlights the effectiveness of digital tools in improving organization and task management skills. In effect, technology can step in and act as a personal assistant. Dr. Mark Burton recently offered a Windward Institute webinar, which was fabulous, on executive functioning skills, and I appreciate how he explained that EF is like the brain manager or the CEO. It is the part of the brain that is responsible for managing and supervising everything, which includes emotions, relationships, projects, and time. One of the most useful ways to view EF skills comes from Thomas Brown, who categorizes these skills into 6 areas: activation, focus, effort, emotion, memory, and action. Remember, these are foundational skills that help a person to organize their thoughts, motivations, and actions toward goals. EF is not the same as IQ, meaning a person can have a high IQ and continue to experience significant EF difficulties. So within activation, we have organizing, prioritizing, and activating to work. That means you're getting ready to actually do the task. Focus, which is sustaining and shifting attention to that task. Effort means that you are regulating alertness. You're sustaining that effort and processing speed. Emotion means that you frequently are managing your frustration. You're modulating your emotions. Memory means that you are utilizing working memory and accessing recall. And then finally, in action, you're monitoring and self-regulation is in action. And as you will note, these all work together in various combinations. So you will see different places where these tech tools will overlap in their helpfulness. So let's take a look at activation first. So activation involves the initiation and organization of tasks, including prioritizing and getting started on work. It's important because effective activation is crucial for productivity and time management. It helps individuals break down tasks into manageable steps, prioritize, and initiate them. So we need to teach our children how to break down the task into smaller steps, establish a routine that's key for organizing tasks and materials, and encourage the use of tech tools to create digital to-do lists. Organizing tasks into an external system is the #1 executive functioning helper. This helps organize and prioritize activities and can also function as a sort of brain dump. By dumping all the to-do items into an external system, it is less for the mind to try and hold. If you are prone to missing appointments, setting alarms on your phone can be a game changer. Setting more than one alarm can at times be helpful. For example, an hour before an event to remind you to begin transitioning, and 5 minutes before is helpful because if it's a virtual meeting, you are prone to get lost in hyperfocus. The ADHD brain, in particular, is drawn to new, novel, and shiny things. One way to work with this is to add color. When colorful Post-it notes or adding color to your study routine or colorizing dates in a digital calendar, using colorful pens and highlighters can help keep the brain engaged and alert while working with dense material. One study found that using color helped ADHD children in particular with handwriting. In each category, I've chosen a couple of apps to spotlight. For task management, 2 of my favorite apps are My Homework, ideal for younger students through middle school, but certainly can be used into high school, and Todoist. Both offer easy ways to track anything to do and provide needed reminders. They're intuitive to use, and they work actually across different devices. Another app that I really like is Timo. Timo allows you to visualize time and build focus. It's designed particularly for people who have ADHD, autism, dyslexia, but anyone really who thinks, works, and plans differently. So this is all going to be in that comprehensive list of linked resources, so no need to rush to write all of this down. We're going to take a short pause here while you write down 3 quick thoughts about activation. It can be taking notes on your phone, on a piece of paper, but just write down those quick 3 things that are your takeaways from activation. Okay, now we're going to move on to focus. Focus involves directing and sustaining attention on a particular task or activity and shifting attention when necessary. It's important because strong focus is essential for learning, for completing assignments, and avoiding distractions. It contributes to increased productivity and better task completion. We want to create a conducive environment for focused work. We want to use tools that set specific time periods for focused work. And we want to, most importantly, encourage breaks to prevent burnout and to maintain sustained attention, because it can be exhausting when you are putting in high focus on a particular task. What students struggle with most when they have EF challenges is determining the true amount of time needed to complete a task and stay focused on completing that task in that time limit. This struggle is often referred to as time blindness, or the inability to understand how long a task will take. In fact, the very sense of time is off. And we're going to take a look at this, this great strategy called the Pomodoro technique. And perhaps you've heard this in your business, or perhaps you used this when you were in college, but the method is very, very simple. When faced with any large task, you're going to break the work down into short timed intervals. I'm going to play this quick short video just to give you a glimpse into this technique, which can be incredibly powerful.
A Pomodoro is a short timed interval during which you work on what you intended to work on, and only what you intended to work on, until the timer goes off, at which point you take a break. See also monotasking. The term is based on a traditional kitchen timer, which looks like a tomato, or Pomodoro if you speak Italian, and it was coined by Francesco Cirillo, who came up with
Let me continue.
the idea when he was a university student struggling to stay focused, which might be why a lot of people with ADHD use Pomodoros. Trouble staying focused is kind of our thing. Sometimes we take forever to get started, sometimes we keep thinking of other things that we needed to do and doing them instead. Starting a Pomodoro gives us a clear signal to start working and stay focused while we work. We're still going to think of other things we need to do, but during a Pomodoro, instead of going to do those things, we write them down and keep working on the thing we intended to work on until the timer goes off, which gives us a clear signal it's okay to take a break. Francesco actually built a whole time management tool around this concept. Appropriately, it's called the Pomodoro technique, and you can check that out here. It involves breaking projects down into a series of 25-minute Pomodoros, tracking those Pomodoros, and using them to plan ahead. But like most strategies, it's not inherently ADHD friendly, so the brains I spoke to who use it have adjusted it to work for them. But a lot of brains use Pomodoros independently of the Pomodoro technique, in whatever way makes sense for them. Some use a Pomodoro to help them get focused on things their brain does not want to do, and then they just keep working when they get into flow because they find the breaks more distracting than helpful. Other people use a Pomodoro to make themselves take breaks from something their brain does want to do, like play video games, so they can practice self-care in between Pomodoros. Some people do mini Pomodoros, like 10 minutes focusing, then a 3-minute break. One even does reverse Pomodoros, a short time focusing with a longer break. Real tomatoes come in all shapes and sizes. Why not Pomodoros? So if we're having trouble getting started on something, we might ask ourselves, do I need a Pomodoro? If we think of something else we need to do during the Pomodoro, we can remind ourselves, nope, I'm Pomodoroing. Write the idea down and get back to work. If we need a little extra help staying focused, we might ask a body double to Pomodoro with us. If someone asks us to do something that isn't the thing we're doing, we can let them know, I'm in the middle of a Pomodoro. And if someone says they're in the middle of a Pomodoro, you leave them alone. Pomodoros are fragile. We must protect them. So now if someone says, I'm off to do a Pomodoro, you'll know that they aren't just going to go eat a tomato. And if your friends get confused when you start a Pomodoro, feel free to send them this video. I'd like to thank all of our supporters on Patreon, especially.
Okay, so that gives you an idea of what the Pomodoro technique is like. And clearly, depending on the age of your child or children, you will want to maybe shape a Pomodoro to 10 minutes or 15 minutes. Rather than the recommended 25 minutes. But a couple of things that are key to making sure that this works for your child is having that piece of paper and pen or pencil. So if another thought occurs to them, they can jot it down on that piece of paper. And having a physical timer is really helpful. You don't have to find a timer in the shape of a tomato, but the physical timer is very helpful. And then making sure when that timer goes off, that they actually get up, move around, maybe they grab a quick snack or a glass of water, and then they're back to the next task. This is great advice for adults as well. And then there's also, you can see underneath that video, there's a little snapshot of an iOS app called 3030. So this is kind of shaped after the Pomodoro technique. The app's simple interface allows you to set up a list of tasks and what is the time needed for each one. Your child can use it to check in and easily figure out what they are supposed to be doing and how much time they need to do it. Sorry, I jumped ahead. Okay, so I'd like to talk a little bit about this issue of time blindness. Frequently, students who struggle with executive functioning have no idea how long a task will take, and they can get lost in time passing. And that frequently is what serves as the largest obstacle. So here we have some different resources. We have timers that you can set on different kinds of devices. I have links for everything from PC to an iPad to a phone. Within Windows 10, there's a built-in timer that can be used to help manage time. What's nice is that it gives a visual representation of time passing with musical notification. Multiple timers can be saved in the app as well, and I have tutorials for that. And then I also talk about an app called Time Timer. It's a visual timer that allows students to see the amount of time left for an activity. It really serves as a very large clock-like timer, and the app is available on both iOS and Android. And finally, there's a clock app on practically every single device that we own, which allows students to set a stopwatch, an alarm, a timer option, and of course, you're free to check in with Siri or any other AI assistant on setting up those times. So what is something else that can help with focus? Mind mapping tools. And technology is overflowing with different variety of mind mapping tools. It can help support EF skills for students. These tools visually organize information in a way that mirrors the nonlinear way our minds often work, making them particularly beneficial for students with EF challenges. So we have the ability to visual organization and the ability to organize that information in a way that makes sense to us. They're very helpful in being able to break down different tasks, as you can have legs that go off into the shorter parts of a particular task. It allows you to brainstorm and generate ideas. It allows for enhanced memory and recall. It provides the ability to be flexible and adaptable. So what are some ways that we can form good habits? What are ways that we can help our students and our children learn to make those habits lifetime habits? If you have any opportunity to put in a reward system, or if you've had experience with that in the past, it's a very difficult thing to operate with your children. But these three apps, Streaks, Habitica, and Hatch, can be super helpful. They're all apps designed to help individuals establish and maintain good habits. Each app has unique features that can benefit students with EF challenges. Here's how each app can help assist students. So in Streaks, for example, it's a simple, intuitive design. It focuses on tracking and maintaining daily habits. It gives a visual representation of streaks for motivation. And if any of your children, or if you are a user of Snapchat, then you know how absolutely precious it can be to keep a streak running for as long as you possibly can. So this is something that children easily relate to. There's motivation through visual progress. Streaks will usually show the number of consecutive days that a habit has been maintained. This visual representation can motivate students to keep up with their habits. It's very simple and a straightforward design. Students input and track their daily habits, and it reduces the cognitive load and makes habit tracking more accessible. That's Streaks. So now let's talk about Habitica, which is one of my favorite apps. So Habitica uses gamification for habit building. It allows users to create an avatar and embark on quests. It even has a collaborative feature for group challenges. So if you have more than one child, or if you want to use that, if you're a teacher, if you want to use that in your class. With the gamified motivation, Habitica turns habit building into a game, providing rewards and consequences for completing or missing habits. This gamification can make habit formation more engaging and enjoyable for students. I really like the collaborative feature, which allows for group challenges and quests. Students can work together to achieve common goals, fostering a sense of community and accountability. And then there's Hatch. Hatch focuses more on building habits through personalized challenges. It provides a community for sharing experiences, so maybe for older children. It allows users to set up and customize challenges on their goals. This flexibility can be particularly helpful for students who have various needs and habits. But it also is nice that it provides that community platform, especially, again, for older students, where they can share their challenges and success, and it offers a supportive environment for habit building. So just as important as using physical timer and making sure that all the materials are there with your child so that they can sit down to their homework or whatever task it is they need to take care of, is creating that right environment. And so there are some things here that are sort of non-traditional tech. Certainly the physical timer, having a quiet, dedicated homework space, it's really important, but a space where you have a parent over shoulder, or POS, as I like to refer to it, where you have good lighting, where your child can use headphones and maybe use white noise, which we'll talk about a little bit later, to filter sensory input. Maybe a standing desk, maybe a yoga ball or exercise chair. And if you, by any chance, have a child that struggles to get out of bed in the morning, like my twin daughters used to, there is a nice feature called sunrise alarm clock that the light starts growing and growing as the sun rises and provides some nice kind of alarms for them. But there's also Clockly, and that's that alarm clock that you see with the wheels on it. It will literally leap off a nightstand and will race around the room until your child gets up, grabs the Clockly, and turns the alarm off. So by that time, they normally don't return to bed. I'm thinking of getting one for myself. All right, let's talk about effort now. So effort and cognitive flexibility are crucial components for students with EF challenges. EF skills encompass a range of cognitive processes that facilitate goal-directed behavior, and deficits in these areas can impact academic performance and daily functioning. Understanding the importance of effort and cognitive flexibility sheds light on how targeted interventions and support can benefit students facing EF challenges. So it involves persistence, task initiation, goal setting, and that cognitive flexibility comes into play when you're talking about adaptability, the ability to adapt to changing circumstances, or the ability to adjust one's thinking. It's switching tasks, so going from math homework to then going into science homework or into reading. It's the ability to problem solve effectively, and it also comes into play with social skills as well. So what are some tech tools that can help here? One of my all-time favorite Microsoft tools is called Immersive Reader. I love it. It's available in multiple apps, but I find it most helpful in Word and in Microsoft Edge browser. So when you open up any kind of text in Microsoft Edge browser, you'll see a little book icon, and I have a tutorial embedded here. And with that, you can click on it and see reading preferences. So one of the great things that you can do is you can actually click on line focus and limit the text to a few lines, or even better, to one line of text at a time. That's an incredible focus, and it reduces the amount of effort necessary for reading the text. You can also change the background color, the size of the text, the spacing of the text. It really is incredibly powerful, and it can also read the text out loud to your child or student. So what else is helpful in that, reducing that cognitive load? Speech to text and text to speech. So in speech to text, you can use almost any device, from a phone to an iPad to a Mac or a Windows computer or a Chromebook, and you're simply clicking on usually a microphone icon, and you are dictating what it is you want to say. And for a lot of children, it's very helpful to get everything that they want to say, that brain dump again from their working memory, and then they can look at it and organize and edit that text. But what else is helpful in reducing that cognitive load is when you have text to speech. So I mentioned how Immersive Reader will read aloud text to you, but there's also tools that are embedded in Mac, in Windows, that will do the same thing on an iPhone, Android phone, and iPad, where it will read spoken content, maybe even translate all the text into a different language for you and read that aloud. Technology is amazing. What else is helpful for this effort is digital task boards, which are platforms that use the Kanban flow, like Microsoft Planner, Trello, Asana. So it's where you can actually put your different tasks in different colors. You can assign due dates and times, and you can see everything visually like a giant board with sticky notes going across it. And students really find this helpful to have that visual cue of, oh yes, that's what's coming up next. This is what I need to accomplish today. Or for longer term projects, this is how I'm going to get that particular long-term project solved. There's also a couple of apps that I really like, but I'd like to drop down to the bottom and talk about Brain.fm. It's an AI-driven music platform that, based on research, is designed to enhance focus, relaxation, and even sleep through scientifically engineered music. It's pretty interesting, worth checking out. But let's talk about our Spotlight apps. So there's Mental Up, and then there's Elevate. So these really are for 8th grade and up. And there isn't a tremendous amount of research out there on these apps, but they may provide ways to sharpen one's cognitive flexibility. These apps often involve tasks that require users to switch between different rules or perspectives. It promotes adaptability in thinking and flexibility in thinking. These types of apps frequently employ tasks that involve pattern recognition, problem solving, and mental agility. So definitely worth maybe spending a few minutes a day on those. All right, let's get emotional. So emotion, inhibitor, I can't even speak it today. When you have a lack of control over your emotions, this deficit in EF helps shape the path or ruin the path in being able to get prepared and task-oriented. It's important for students to be able to manage impulses and emotion, to problem solve when they feel overwhelmed or stressed or frustrated, and to work through these potential tasks. It's important to understand different techniques that they can use to help them work through these different obstacles. So there's some technology that can be helpful here. The first is Mood Note, which is a journaling app that helps users track and reflect on their emotions. So understanding and fostering emotional awareness. When is it that I get most frustrated? What is the trigger? How did I work through that? What was something that was helpful? So journaling can help them on that journey to being more self-aware and thus more able to work through any emotional regulation issues. Another couple of apps that are really helpful are Headspace, which is a mindfulness and meditation app, Calm, which is another app that uses relaxation exercises and meditation, and one of my favorites, Go Noodle. I use this frequently as a classroom teacher. When we would take breaks, it gets kids moving and practicing mindfulness with very short, quick videos on breathing techniques, emotional regulation, activity, and more. So our spotlight is on, we're going to look at a couple of those apps, but first we're going to take a little look at environmental noise. Remember I promised that I was going to talk about white noise? There's something called white noise, pink noise, brown noise. These are all variations on that kind of sound that blocks out and helps children where sensory input can serve as a distraction. And I have little instructions here on how to set it on an Android device and how to set it on your phone, but you can also set it on your phone. Remember when I said that Microsoft had a clock app, and so does Mac? You can, if you look at that, you'll see on Windows in particular, it has a Spotify link. And within Spotify, there's tons of different variations of white noise, pink noise, and brown noise. The difference between those is just apparently the volume of the bass. but it's really helpful for your child, but also for adults. So if you've ever been on a noisy train or a plane and you're trying to focus, frequently listening to music, especially music with lyrics in it, can distract from focus and can require greater cognitive load to take a task through to its completion. Whereas white noise just simply blocks out any other sound, and it's very subtle and helps students to focus and put the effort needed into each task. So just to give you a taste of what Calm and Headspace and these other apps can be like, I'm just going to play.
So sitting comfortably, just taking a big deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. As you breathe in, noticing how the body expands. As you breathe out, just watching the body soften as you gently close the eyes.
Okay, so these are great short little pieces that you can use all throughout a task process. So getting ready, that activation phase, helping you when you're taking a break. And then once you've finished all these tasks, helping you to calm down and get ready to sleep at night. All right, so before we go to memory, I'd like you to take another brain dump and write down what are the things that you learned from what we have gone through so far. So what are your takeaways when looking at emotion, when looking at effort, when looking at focus? What are 3 things that you think would be the most helpful for your child to know? So I'm just going to give you a minute to jot down those ideas. Okay, so now that we've cleared that working memory, let's talk about memory. So memory involves using, memory is a crucial role, in the overall functioning of individuals. Its significance is particularly pronounced for students with EF challenges. Executive functioning encompasses a set of cognitive processes that enable goal-directed behavior, and working memory is considered a core component of EF systems. Children need to understand that you can only hold so much information in your working memory. Jotting thoughts down immediately is helpful, as is asking Siri or similar apps to remind them about a task, or don't forget to tell me in an hour that I need to let the dog out. Students with EF challenges often face challenges in initiating tasks and planning. Working memory is essential for holding the steps of a task in mind, allowing them to plan and execute activities in a sequential and organized manner. Task management apps like Todoist are helpful visual reminders of each step and each task to be completed, as is that low-tech solution of having a piece of paper handy with a pen or pencil for your child when they're functioning, when they're in that sort of Pomodoro focus and they're trying to get through a task. If they get distracted with the thought of, oh, I need to remember to let the dog out, they can write it on a Post-it note or piece of paper and then immediately refocus on the task, and that will get it out of their working memory. So what are some apps that might be helpful toward this end? Well, Quizlet is great. Quizlet is a flashcard app. It aids in memorization through active recall and self-assessment, and it's a little bit addictive too. Students really enjoy using it. Enki is another one that's really interesting. It's a spaced repetition software. It optimizes memory retention by presenting information in particular timed intervals. Kahoot is another one that's kind of like Quizlet, but a little bit more gamified, and students really love it. It has a completely addictive yet really annoying music that plays, but it allows them to create, share, and play learning games or trivia quizzes. If you're looking for something that is in the area of math, Motion Math is a great app. It's research-based, it's an adaptive learning platform, and really helpful for students in learning and recalling those math facts. MindNode is another one of those mind mapping apps that I was talking about that is really helpful for students to be able to break their task down or to brainstorm different ideas and have them organized in a certain way. Writers begin by placing their initial idea in the center, and then they can add ideas that branch off of it, color code, draw connecting lines with them. And it's easy to then take that MindNode map and convert it into a Word document where you can then start working on that written task. Any.do. This is just a great simple app to set up a to-do list and program the app to send reminders. And then there's a plethora of different whiteboard apps out there. Now you can physically have a whiteboard ready for your child to write anything down that they need reminders, or maybe that will serve as a family hub. But there's also virtual whiteboards. So there's one by Microsoft that's called Whiteboard. And there's another great one called Figma. And there's another called Padlet that really uses virtual sticky notes. But they're great ways, again, for students to do a brain dump. Oh, I just read this whole chapter in science. Let me quickly just get all these thoughts down on a whiteboard. And then they can very easily organize those thoughts and then take notes from there. But speaking of taking notes, there's lots of different note-taking apps out there that are great, like Evernote, Notability, Microsoft's OneNote. They allow students to organize their notes digitally, and it works across devices. And it all stays up in the cloud. So no more losing that, notebook, or losing those note cards that you just took all these careful notes on. It's all safe in the cloud. It makes it easy to retrieve the information when needed, and all of those apps sync across devices. So it doesn't matter if you did all of your information on an iPad and then you retrieve it on a PC, it syncs across devices. Then, of course, there are other adaptive learning platforms. Remember, I talked about Motion Math before. So there's things like Khan Academy, which is great. It works individually. So depending on how you answer the questions, it will either present ever increasing difficulty, or it will put in reinforced questions if you missed something. So it will phrase it a different way until you successfully get that answer. All right, let's talk about action. So the action category of EF skills involves the ability to initiate, plan, organize, and most importantly, complete tasks. It encompasses the practical aspects of EF, focusing on the steps required to transform ideas and intentions into tangible outcomes. Technology can play a significant role in supporting students in the action category by providing tools and resources that facilitate task initiation, planning, organization, and from task management apps to reminders. We're going to take a look at some very helpful apps. We can organize tasks into an external system, and this is the #1 EF helper. This helps organize and prioritize activities. So when you are looking at particular apps, you can see an example here, for example, from McGettigan. So you have your habits. What are the things that are daily things that you need to do? What are the to-dos and what are the rewards that you're going to get for that? There's also, of course, Siri and other AI reminders that you can set. There's actually a reminders app that's built into your phone. Google Keep is another great one to send notifications and reminders. There's time tracking software. I talked about a couple of them already, but there's things like Toggle, Odoo, and Rescue Time that help students monitor how they spend their time, which can highlight areas where they can improve time management. Digital calendars are wonderful. So whether you're an Apple or PC fan, if you're Google, you can consider perhaps setting up a family calendar where you can layer all the different folks in your family into this one family calendar, and then maybe even consider printing that out. So remember when I referred to time blindness before? It refers to even the passage of days and weeks. So if your child can see that physical reminder posted on the refrigerator or whatever central place is in your home, it's really, really helpful. But digital calendars are great for being able to see things visually, color code them, set reminders. You have a digital calendar that's built into some apps, like I talked about my homework app, for example, that has that built in. But again, I have to reiterate, McGettigan, one of the best apps around. It really helps children to turn daily habits into lifetime habits. It's really motivating and they love the rewards in it. There's another app, but this is only available on Android. It's called Stay on Task. And it randomly will check in with your child once they've input the task and things that they need to do. And it will say, hey, Joan, did you finish working on that science homework yet? So they never know when it's going to pop up with that. It could be in 90 seconds, could be in 3 minutes. And it's just a gentle reminder to put their mind back on their task. All right, so let's talk about another area that's really helpful for families to put in place are settings on devices. So in both Windows and Mac, on Chromebooks, there are a host of settings that you can use. And all of this is in that linked comprehensive list that you'll be getting that allow for a focus assist, for example, that will provide parental controls. So for example, on an iPad, you can set up guided that will limit your child to that one particular app and will not let them go into any other app. There's night shift and night light settings, which are great. If your child is on the screen a lot, you'd like to reduce the strain on their eyes. But even some things like taskbar settings, having a calm and neutral desktop background. These are all really helpful in just making sure that things are calm and getting rid of as much distractions as possible. But there's also setting limits on screen time. So there's Circle with Disney, Custodio, Microsoft Family Safety app. These are all that allow for parents to set limits on when things are available. You can even, in most Wi-Fi apps, you can set Wi-Fi to shut off for different individuals by a certain time of the evening. It's a great idea. So I'd like to use this last bit of time before we have Q&A and talk about artificial intelligence, AI. So how can AI help students who might have EF challenges? Well, AI, first of all, are large language computer systems that are designed to perform tasks that typically require human intelligence. AI analytics can track student progress, identify patterns and areas of improvement. So think like Khan Academy and those adaptive learning platforms like Motion Math. So how can AI help support EF? It can help support EF skills in a variety of ways, such as providing personalized learning experiences, automating repetitive tasks, and offering real-time feedback. Students can gain insight into their learning habits and progress, foster self-awareness. It provides additional resources, ideas, and feedback. So, for example, you probably have heard of ChatGPT. So ChatGPT, a student can enter a question and say, hey, I have to write a paper about the fall of ancient Rome. Can you give me 3 ideas of what I should start thinking about? Or can you give me a list of resources that are really great for a 7th grader who wants to research this area? We're not encouraging children to ask AI to write the essay or even to write the outline. Instead, we'd like them to learn how to use AI as a personal assistant, if you will, somebody who's an intelligent tutor on the side. So if I have an outline that I think is great for my essay on the fall of Rome, I can copy and paste that into ChatGPT and say, can you give me some feedback on this? Are there areas that I'm missing? Are there areas that I may be spending too much time on? Do I have things out of order? Just give me feedback. So Grammarly, for example, is an AI tool. And it's a wonderful tool in helping students proofread essays that they have and to look for things that might be an incorrect verb tense or something that's repetitive or even things that are awkwardly phrased. AI, of course, is behind adaptive learning systems. It's in speech recognition and language skills, but it can also be helpful in time management. So one of the things that happens in our use of AI is that hopefully we become better and better prompt engineers. We learn how to ask questions the right way. So if I am a 10-year-old girl and a friend said something hurtful to me about my outfit, I can actually ask in ChatGPT, what are some strategies for helping me explain to my friend that she hurt my feelings about when she was talking about my outfit in a mean way? You can ask for it to help plan out a project. Hi, ChatGPT, I have a research project due on ancient Rome, and it requires me to write an essay on about 1,000 words, and I need to use 3 or 4 really good resources, and I have no idea how I can even begin setting a to-do list and task management. Can you give me some advice? And it will give 2 or 3 different options on possible schedules and to-do lists. So to spark ideas, to be a sage on the side, just to be a helpful personal assistant, I think AI more and more can provide support to students with EF challenges. So I'd like you to remember this quote from Randy Frost really speaks to me, that deficits in executive functions such as planning, categorization, organization, and attention leave students lost amid a sea of things, unable to figure out what to do next. So to help them, we can use these tech tools to help support any challenges they may have. But remember, we want to establish a dedicated study space, manage the digital distractions using those settings. Really important to establish a consistent routine. That's why I like Streaks and Habitica app. Encourage a healthy lifestyle. Use those time management tools. That physical timer can be key. Promote goal setting. Model that for your child. Oh, I have something that's coming up and I need to plan for this. So I'm going to start writing down my to-dos and I'm going to try and figure out how much time each of those things is going to take. And do I need anybody's help? Do I need to tap into anybody's help to do so? So these are, again, just some tips to help you help your child survive any EF challenges that they may have. It's been really a great pleasure in sharing this information with you all. I hope you have found this webinar, like all Windward Institute webinars, to be helpful. We will be sending out that comprehensive linked resource to all registrants. And if we have time, do we have time, ladies, for answering some questions?
Yes, I think we do.
Okay, fantastic. What do we have?
We have a question about these tools and ADHD. It is, what makes these tools attractive to the ADHD brain? They seem to require a good deal of effort and would need to be attractive in order for the children to use them.
Sure. So, for example, forming those good habits, Streaks, Hatch, Habitica, very intuitive to use. And they pop up with those little reminders and inspiration and motivation to get them to attend to forming those good habits. Using tech tools to do those brain dumps and organize your thoughts. This, again, intuitive. It doesn't require a great deal of effort, but what's really important there is that it frees the working memory and allows you to attend to the task at hand. What else do we have?
We have another question. I think that this speaks to Habitica and some of the other similar apps in terms of the types of habits that you would put in for different ages.
Sure. So when you think about that first phase, when we're talking about the skills and that first category of activation, it's really important to understand what is it that I need to do every day in order to be prepared to do work like homework. What is it that I need to get? And so it becomes a habit that I am setting up my environment. I'm making sure that I have these different things available. I've already used reminders that before I leave the house or when I'm at school, that I'm remembering those key pieces that I normally forget. So I'm remembering what to put in my backpack. I'm remembering when I take that to school to submit different things. I'm remembering to put into the backpack before I leave school things that I'm going to need to get my work done. So these are small little tasks that you want become a habit. And so Habitica and Streaks can be really helpful there.
All right, I think we will take one more question.
Okay.
And I suspect we have many people who are having the same thought, which is that once, a lot of these suggestions, obviously this is technology focused, send students to an app and so forth. But once they have technology in hand, they can easily become distracted by other ways to use the technology. Even when limits have been set, students will play with the settings to see what they can do to open up whatever they're trying to get into. So do you have any suggestions for how to keep students focused on these tech-based supports?
Sure. It's one of the reasons why I love something like guided access on an iPad, because the parent is the one that has the secret code that unlocks it, and it keeps them locked into a particular app until that task is completed. But another thing I would say to parents, and I know this might sound a little harsh, but it's really important to have that POS, parent over shoulder. Make sure the devices don't go up into bedrooms. Make sure the devices are where you can see it. Set those different timers. And then having that reward system in place, like through streaks, is really important to keep that motivation going and to form those habits. And one last piece of advice I would give is to have that discussion with your child, when they're sitting down to tackle their homework. What is the thing that gives you the most difficulty? What is the task that you really don't want to do? And let's put that as priority number one, because once you get over that particular task, then that leaves you more emotionally regulated to complete all of the other tasks.
Great, thank you so much. We do have one final, I believe this is a short answer about whether or not you can repeat what you said about the code on the iPad.
Sure. So in guided access, you are, and Apple has a great support on YouTube that will have a little video that shows you exactly how to do this. But you pick a 4-digit PIN, and you don't let your child, of course, see you type this PIN in, but you put in the PIN, you choose the app that you want them locked into, and then they cannot unlock the iPad until that code is put back in.
Very helpful. Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. McGettigan. This has been extraordinarily informative. And for all participants in this afternoon's webinar, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you.